So I feel like in a person's watch collecting journey, there are some brands that you try once and you move on from. Then there's Seiko. The moment that I think my taste may have moved up market, I find another Seiko that I like. The thing is, I don't really like the expensive Seikos. I like to find the hidden gems on the cheaper end of the catalog. So in this video, I'm going to show you two of my favorite recent additions and use them to demonstrate why I think Seiko is still the value king. Hey guys, I'm Max and this is Watch Crunch. Hey, do you sometimes wear your watch to bed, so you can look at the lume under the blanket? Well, you are a weirdo and you belong on watchcrunch.com. This is a new online discussion platform that we launched for watch nerds, and it combines the best of IG, Reddit, traditional watch forums, etc. So come check it out. So a common complaint I frequently hear about Seiko recently is that they've been raising their prices. Yes, this is true, but they've also been differentiating their lines, especially distinguishing the Seiko 5 with the mid-tier Prospex, Presage lines. And personally, I love what they've been doing with the Seiko 5 watches. Now, in 1963, Seiko set out 5 watch commandments for itself. The line of budget-friendly watches was to abide by 5 basic tenets. They were, in no particular order, an automatic movement, a day-date window, good water resistance, a crown at 4, which has obviously changed, and lastly, a durable case and band. Now, in the ensuing decades, a myriad of Seiko 5 models have become the gateway drug for many watch enthusiasts. Now, this particular example comes from its Pilot collection, which takes cues from the Field and Flieger watches dating back to World War II. This particular example is a limited edition to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Worn and Wound. Now, you know this is an enthusiast watch because it comes out of the box with 2 quite decent straps. We have a gray Adapt NATO with red stitching and an army green canvas with orange backing. But I decided to fit a single pass NATO from RSM. It's got this beige stripe down the middle that picks up nicely on the cream dial. And what a dial it is. It's inspired by the original cream S&K 803. Now, gone are the days when you can pick up a Seiko 5 for $50 on Amazon, but that may actually be a good thing. See, the S&K was a fun watch, but you grew out of it rather quickly. First of all, for a sports watch, it was diminutive at 37 millimeters wide and having an 18 millimeter lug width. Then it was fitted with a very basic 7S26 movement that didn't hack or hand wind. Compare that to this modern reincarnation, now at about $200 to $300 and standing at a confident 39.5 millimeters with 20 millimeter lug widths. Yes, it's still on the thicker side at just over 13, but that's partly due to the domed Harlex crystal and partly because the 4R36 movement, basically a Seiko sign NH36, is just not that thin. But what you get in return is hacking, hand winding, 100 meters of water resistance. Basically, this watch feels like a much more serious sports watch that you could wear every day. Now, the Worn and Wound guys really nail the design. I just have to take a second and shout them out. I've been on their podcast, and Blake, and Zach, yes, there are 2 Blakes, are all active on Watch Crunch. They're not paying me to say any of this, and I paid for this watch with my own money. But it's clear that these are some unpretentious watch nerds that enjoy a $200 watch as much as a $20,000 watch. And I just think that's something we need more in the watch world. Okay, so back to the design. We have a dial that's divided into an outer cream-colored portion with a waffle pattern and a gray intersection with a sunburst finish. Now, there is so much texture and light reflections, it's a feast for the eyes. The hands are broad sword-shaped with a syringe tip, and a fun lollipop, just like in the S&K, serves as the counterbalance for the second hand. Splashes of color come in the way of an orange tip at the second hand, as well as a red triangle at 12. Now, I do wonder how much cleaner things will look without this large date window, but at least it's black and not overly conspicuous. Now guys, please take a second, drop a like for this video. I'm cooking up a comparison between a Rolex Explorer and one of those Smith Everests to see if it's really a viable alternative. I'm really excited about this one, so make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss that. Now let me take you back a few years and tell you about my saga with the Alpinist. Back when I was still sophomoric in my journey, I did at one point own a SARB 017, but I was frankly pretty lost back then as a collector and didn't appreciate it for what it was. So I eventually said goodbye to that watch and it was swallowed up by the classifieds. And once in a while I would see a photo of the SARB and I would reminisce about all the good times that we had. I tried to move on, but somewhere in the depth of my heart I knew I wanted that watch back. But my ego got the best of me and I wanted to play the field. Luckily, if it's an Alpinist you want, Seiko's got you covered. There are plenty of dial colors in the Prospex Alpinist line. There's also the Baby Alpinist, the Laurel Alpinist, and even the Ginza watch that I reviewed on the channel a few months back. Now, the closest rendition to the original SARB was the 2020 release, the SPB 121, which had an identical dial, but a Cyclops with a white date window. But in the end, after making a full circle, I swallowed my pride and bought the green SARB Alpinist back. And though I ended up paying about double what I sold it for back in the day, I consider this part of my watch collecting tuition and part reparations to an old lover. Introduced in the mid-2000s in the JDM market, the SARB 017 showed the world what Seiko can do for less than $500. And you can put this dial up against anything south of 5 to 10 times that and it wouldn't disappoint. It's got a rich sunburst finish that's on more than one occasion almost caused car accidents when my watch hand had been on the steering wheel. And we get polished gold numerals denoting the even hours with slim triangles occupying the odd ones. And we get dramatic, ornate, broad cathedral hands for the hour and the minutes, and even the second hand is decorated with a teardrop at the end of it. A compass bezel allows the mountaineer to orient to cardinal directions with the help of the sun. Now, for better or worse, Seiko has never paid much attention or spent much money on their bands, and this faux alligator is especially terrible. So I threw it out and coincidentally put it on a top grain calf leather from the wind-up watch shop. Now, the Alpinist is now part of the Prospex line. That's part of that differentiation I was talking about. So what you're getting over the Seiko 5 is a flat sapphire crystal instead of the Hardlex, a crown that screws down to give you 200 meters of water resistance. The case is clearly better polished with sharper lines, more contrasting surfaces. Lastly, the 6R15 movement is an upgrade with a balance that offers more shock resistance, better accuracy, and now it has a 55-hour power reserve over the 4R's 40 hours. Okay, so Seiko has a lot of problems. We don't have time to get into all of them in this video, but nonetheless, I feel like these two watches represent the essence of what Seiko does so well. And that's making unpretentious watches at honest prices that are fun, daring in design, all from a company with a century and a half of history. Other Seiko 5s like the Dress KX, the SRPD Divers, they're all great watches for that person in your life who you're trying to introduce to the watch hobby. But what do you think? Is Seiko no longer the best value in town? Let's continue the conversation on watchcrunch.com. Also, come say hi to me and the Worn and Wound crew. I'll put a link in the pinned comments below. As always, good chat, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.